Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a topic that seems simple on the surface, but actually has, well, so many layers. We're talking about defining history.
Yeah, it's fundamental, isn't it? More than just old stories.
Exactly. Not just dusty books. It's really about how we understand, well, everything. Ourselves, our world, where we're headed. And for this deep dive, we've gathered some really interesting sources, educational YouTube transcripts, a detailed PDF, all sorts of things.
A good mix.
Right. And our mission really is to pull out the core ideas, maybe some surprising bits, and crucially, connect it all back to you, the listener. Make it engaging, relevant.
Make it stick.
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack this. So first things first, that big question. What is history? I mean, really, is it just stuff that happened ages ago? The past?
That's the perfect place to start. Our sources consistently frame it as studying and describing the details of the people who lived in the past.
People that's human focused.
Absolutely. That's the key takeaway. It's not just events. It's understanding how people lived, how they shaped their environment, built things, adapted, and how they related to each other, maintained societies, often over vast stretches of time. History is essentially the story that weaves all that together.
That makes it feel much closer, doesn't it? Less abstract. Like, think about your own family.
Yeah.
You probably haven't met your great-great-grandparents.
Yeah.
Or know exactly how your school was built, step by step, or all the village elders from way back when.
True. Those details fade.
But all those events, those people, they belong to the history of your life, your community. It's personal.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, history isn't just looking back passively, it's active.
Active how?
Well, by carefully studying the past, the successes, sure, but also the failures, the struggles, we get lessons, real insights.
Right, things to learn from.
Exactly, and that understanding becomes sort of a guide. It helps us shape our future, hopefully, in a more meaningful, successful way. It tells us why things matter now.
Okay, so if it's this human story connecting past and future, how do we actually know about people from, say, thousands of years ago we weren't there? It feels like a huge leap.
It is a challenge, definitely.
I mean, like you said, with family history, maybe your dad tells you about his grandfather, or you find an old school magazine about the construction.
Which serves as direct links.
Or the principal tells you about former community leaders. But ancient times, that seems like a whole different ballgame. How do historians bridge that gap?
Here's where it gets really interesting. All those things you mentioned, stories, magazines, personal account, they all fall under this big umbrella term, sources.
Sources.
Yeah. A source is basically anything, any piece of evidence that helps us piece together the past. It's like historical detective work. Every little bit is a clue.
And thinking about really ancient stuff, it gets even more curious. Like, have you ever wondered, what did the throne of an ancient king actually look like? The shape, the materials.
Or what kind of coins were they using?
Exactly.
Yes.
What was the currency in, say, ancient Sri Lanka? How do we figure that stuff out?
What's fascinating here is we often find answers by looking directly at what's left.
Like tangible things.
Exactly. You might see an actual ancient throne preserved in a museum, like the Colombo National Museum. You can literally realize what a throne is by seeing it with your own eyes.
Wow.
Or you can study old coins, maybe kept in museum collections or archives, and get real knowledge about their economy, their symbols, their rulers.
So we're looking at physical remnants.
We are. We scrutinize whatever survived physical objects, written records. But it's not just seeing, it's interpreting what we see. That's the skill. Now, when we talk formal study, the sources highlight two main kinds of evidence. First up, literary sources.
Okay, written stuff.
Yep. Ancient written records, such as old books and folk tales. Think chronicles, poems, inscriptions, letters.
Right.
These give us insights into thoughts, beliefs, how society worked. Like in Sri Lanka, we have the Dipavamsa. It's from the 4th century AD, but we don't actually know who wrote it.
Anonymous.
Yeah. And then there's the Mahavansa, 5th century AD, written by Mahavansa, more detailed.
Okay.
But here's the catch. When historians use these, they're always asking, who wrote this? Why? What was their angle? These texts aren't neutral, they have perspectives. Understanding that bias is crucial.
Right, so you can't just take them at face value. You have to dig deeper into the context.
Yeah.
But what if people didn't write? Or the writings just didn't survive? Rot, fire, whatever.
Excellent point.
All right.
That leads us right to the second main type, archaeological sources.
The digging stuff.
Sort of. It's basically what is remaining now which belonged to the past. Old objects, buildings, ruins, the physical traces people left behind.
Like what kind of traces?
Oh, all sorts. Human skeletons, they tell us about diet, health, even migration patterns.
Or simple tools left by cave dwellers, showing us how they survive day to day. Stone axes, pottery shards.
Gives you a picture of daily life.
Exactly, a really tangible connection. A great Sri Lankan example is Gal Vihara in Polonnaruwa.
The rock temple.
That's the one. 12th century AD, King Parakrama Bahushare. Seeing those massive Buddha statues carved from rock, you feel the scale of that kingdom, its artistry.
Yeah, that's powerful.
But archaeological sources have their own challenges. Often it's fragmented, a piece here, a foundation there. It takes a lot of expertise to interpret it accurately, like putting together a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing.
Makes sense. And our sources also mentioned something else, didn't they? Not just written words or old stones.
Yes, absolutely. Oral traditions, stories passed down by elders.
Like grandparents' stories, but on a bigger scale.
Precisely, it's like a living library. Sometimes these oral histories preserve details, perspectives, especially about everyday life, that just never got written down. They're incredibly valuable, though they also need careful handling, like literary sources. Okay, so we have history as this human story, and we uncover it using all these different sources written, archaeological, oral. But let's get to the crunch.
Yeah.
Why does it matter to me today?
Yeah.
So what does this all mean? You might think, okay, interesting, but is there any use in learning about stuff from ages ago? Why should I care?
This raises an important question, maybe the most important one. And the answer is profound. Understanding the past gives us vital guidance for the present.
Guidance how? Like avoiding old mistakes.
That's part of it, definitely. But it's also about finding solutions. It offers a kind of playbook drawn from centuries of human experience, trial, error, innovation. Let's take a really concrete example from the sources Sri Lanka's farming history.
Okay.
In the past, it was known as the Granary of the East. Why? Because of incredibly successful, sustainable agriculture, methods that worked with the environment.
Right.
The sources specifically say there's not any evidence which tells that there existed any environmental pollution that can be seen today from those old practices.
Wow, that's a stark contrast to now.
Exactly. Contrast that with a serious problem that we face today, the damage from widespread use of insecticides, chemical fertilizers. You know the issues.
Yeah, soil degradation, water pollution.
The lesson is right there. Means to solve our present problems can be found by understanding how people were engaged in agriculture in an environmental friendly way in the past. History can literally offer blueprints for sustainability.
That's incredibly practical. It's not just abstract knowledge. It also makes me think. It helps us understand how things we just take for granted came to be.
Absolutely. It adds depth to the everyday.
Like writing. The words on this page, the letters you type on your phone, you might suddenly wonder, how did these shapes, these scripts we use even get started?
Where did A come from?
Yeah. Who invented S? How did it change over time?
And history answers that. Our sources actually talk about this for Sri Lanka. Writing scripts there go back about 2,250 years.
That long? Wow.
Yeah. And they even show how a letter like S evolved visually. You can see the stages from ancient forms to the one we recognize instantly today.
That's amazing. It connects you to this huge sweep of time just through a letter.
It does. It illuminates the evolution hiding in plain sight. So ultimately, understanding these past successes and failures, how things develop, it gives us that crucial knowledge. It acts like a light, guiding us to understand how our country, our society, should move forward, how we can develop meaningfully. It's about extracting wisdom.
Wisdom, not just facts. I like that. Okay, one more crucial piece. History covers enormous stretches of time. Millennia. How do we keep track? How do we measure time in a way that makes sense across different cultures and eras?
Yeah, chronology is vital, otherwise it's just a jumble of events. Our sources mention the two most common global systems, both centered around the birth of Jesus Christ.
Right, BC and AD.
Exactly. BC is before Christ, for the years leading up to his birth, and AD is Anno Domini, Latin for in the year of the Lord, for the years after.
That's the standard in many places.
It is. It provides a common reference point, though it's obviously rooted in one particular tradition. But crucially, it's not the only way.
Ah, okay. What else is there?
Well, the sources detail several other important systems, showing how different cultures mark time based on their own pivotal events. For instance, Buddhist years, BY.
Based on Buddha.
Yes, counted from the year of Lord Buddha's passing, his Mahaparinibbana. The general belief noted in the sources places this around 544 BC in the BCA system.
Interesting. So timelines overlap, but have different starting points.
Precisely. Then you have Saka years. This calendar is significant in Hinduism and started, according to the sources, in 78 AD. It marks a historical victory King Gautam Sapa Karni over the Saka people.
Another cultural anchor point.
Exactly. And there's the Hijri years, the Islamic calendar. This begins in 622 AD, marking the year Prophet Muhammad traveled from Mecca to Medina, the Hijra, a foundational event in Islam.
So BC, AD, Buddhist, Saka, Hijri. It shows how time itself is culturally framed.
It really does. Each system reflects what a particular culture or civilization considers historically monumental. And for historians, understanding and sometimes translating between these systems is part of the job, building that bigger interconnected picture of the past.
That really underscores how history isn't just one single straight line, is it? It's this rich tapestry of different perspectives, different chronologies, all woven together. Even how we count the years tells a story.
Beautifully put.
Wow, what a journey today. We started asking, what is history? And found it's this deep human story about people, how they lived, adapted, related.
The human element.
Then we looked at how we know through sources. Those literary texts like Dipavamsa and Mahavamsa needing careful reading.
And the archaeological clues.
Yeah, skeletons, tools, amazing ruins like Gal Vihara, plus those vital oral traditions.
Piecing it all together.
And we saw the real point of it all. History offers guidance for today, like learning sustainable farming from the past.
Finding solutions.
And it helps us understand the evolution of everyday things, like our writing systems.
Giving context to now.
And finally, how we measure this vast timeline. BC AD, yes, but also Buddhist, Saka, Hijri years, each reflecting unique historical milestones.
A global perspective on time.
It really covers a lot.
It does. It's endlessly fascinating. And maybe, for you listening, here's something to chew on. What stands out to you from all this? Think about your own life right now. The objects around you, the stories your family tells, the traditions you follow. How might those things, seemingly ordinary, now become crucial sources for historians hundreds, maybe thousands of years from now, trying to understand our time?
Wow.
What history are you creating, maybe without even realizing it? What clues are you leaving behind?
That's a fascinating thought. What story will our stuff tell? Really makes you think.
It does.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into defining history. Lots to ponder there.